Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So I received a mailing from Draft Sanders. And the funny part about this, when I first received this, I thought to myself, I would love to see this advertised because I think it is a big deal that there is a movement for a new party or for a major party. And then I thought to myself, the second thought immediately behind it, hey, to some degree, dude, you are the press. Get it out. So this is Draft Sanders. Now, Draft Sanders is launching a new movement. You can say they're transforming it to something else. So I'm going to read this, and let's have a conversation about it afterwards. Now, there are two main points to get at. People take issue with Draft Sanders because it has Bernie Sanders in Draft Sanders. Now, the people who take issue are people mostly in my sandbox. I don't necessarily think the wider world takes issue with it. Bernie Sanders is the most popular politician on the planet in spades. Okay, that's an overstatement. In the United States, in spades. So whatever raw feelings people may have on the far left, that's not necessarily indicative of the rest of the nation. They don't see it that way. They don't see him in those terms. And second, there are practical problems with starting a third party that Nick Brano is trying to overcome using Bernie Sanders. Democrats want to leverage Sanders for their own ends, essentially leveraging Sanders for their own credibility and for their own popularity and all this other stuff. But Brano wanted to do the same thing for other reasons. So let's take a look at this. Draft Bernie launches movement for People's Party amid explosive DNC rigging revelations and record support for a major new party. The American Progressive Movement is reeling from the back-to-back revelations that the 2016 Democratic primary was thoroughly rigged and that the party purged Sanders supporters from the DNC. The past few weeks have made clear a conclusion that progressives have long sought to avoid. There is no path to power inside the Democratic Party. As the Democratic Party shuts the door on progressives, Gallup shows more Americans now calling for a major new party than ever before. A large majority of Americans now want an alternative to Democrats and Republicans. In just 5 years, support for the new party has jumped from 46% to 61%. There are already far more independents than Democrats. But now, even most Democrats are saying that their party does such a poor job that a major third party is needed. It is in this turbulent political context that Draft Bernie for a People's Party is launching its next phase. Movement for a People's Party. If you notice, they removed Sanders from that. Movement for a People's Party. I'm going to put the entirety of the document in the comments. Two things. Third parties have a long and a hard path to go to power. Now, the reason I say that, there are two reasons. It doesn't make it impossible. Those naysayers and people who said it's possible, they only say those things are impossible until those things take place. It's not impossible. It's just difficult to pull off. Part of it boils down to the parties themselves. Both parties have a vested interest in keeping it to two parties. You can imagine if you had a third party, you're upsetting the apple cart of an established order. The left and the right, or the faux left and the faux right. We don't want anybody upsetting our apple cart. We're going to hug media. We're going to make these contracts. We're going to do whatever we need to do to exclude third parties from the conversation and from the debate. That's been modus operandi. Now, at one point, there was an organization that used to hold debates that used to allow third parties in those debates. Of course, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party eschewed that. It started working kind of in tandem with media to come up with these rules in order to keep people off the stage. The second part to that is not Democrats and Republicans. Yes, Democrats and Republicans hold hand in that. It's the person. It's the other. It's the mythical, esoteric other, the cynical other. I would vote for this person if I believe other people would do the same thing. Meaning you need a situation of a lemming behavior. That's what you need. In order for that person to feel perfectly comfortable and confident that the other is going to make that vote, or that there's a substantial amount of the other, or at the very least, that there's enough of the other to contest the vote where his vote won't be wasted. In order to make sure that his vote won't be wasted. Put it this way. If that person feels like their vote is going to be wasted, they're going to vote for one of the Democrats and Republicans, even if they hate Democrats and Republicans. Now, you may have some of those people who get to the point of saying no, in which case they may say they're not going to vote for neither. But I would argue that for the number of people that vote, even among those people who want a third party, they would bow their heads and they would give their vote away to one of these parties because they're terrified of the other person. And they don't see a third party as an alternative. I would vote for a third party if I believe that other people would do the same. It's like fish behavior. At some point, the herd or the group turns and all of the fish go in a different direction. What's that turn? What's that turn? So there are practical problems. Now, the reason why they wanted to choose Sanders is because they wanted Sanders to help overcome that practical issue. They thought that Sanders will be enough of a lightning rod where he can drag enough support over where it puts it into question. It's not this thing of, okay, nobody's going to vote for that guy, so I'm just going to ignore him. That's Bernie Sanders. And yes, Bernie Sanders is going to get my vote. And there are enough people who thinks to themselves, Bernie Sanders has the potential to win. Bernie Sanders is going to get my vote. He wants to overcome the hurdle of the other. There may be enough of the other in this case, or at the very least the people believing that there's enough of the other to get people to vote outside of the third party context. He's trying to smash the Democratic Party. I agree with him on this. There may be people who say that, oh, this is just controlled opposition, but at a certain point, people start to believe that everything is a controlled opposition. I understand where they're coming from. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like there aren't real false flags. It's not like it's not real political corruption or real political gamesmanship and everything else. I don't think Ron is controlled opposition. I think ultimately their intention is real. So if they're going with this idea of trying to create this kind of third-party movement, I am on board. I'm going to put the rest of the document in the bottom. All right, guys. Have a good one.